Welcome back to Fire Force Anime Review Episode 41. Yep, this one I'm viewing the 44th episode of the anime, Weapons of Destruction, and the two newest chapters of the manga, 254 and 255. This episode adapts from pretty much the rest of chapter 155 in pages 5 to 18. It's 18-page chapter. And it goes through pretty much the entirety of 156, 158. As far as I can tell, they do make some small artistic changes to the anime. Very minor at best. Unlike sometimes basic I've seen previously, where they just take an image and just show it in a complete different angle. This episode, no, not really. It's mostly the same. They make very little change here. Episode picks up right where last week's episode left off, where companies 2 and 8 are investigating the Netherworld. Well, yeah, this actually is the first time the company has been here since the end of Season 2. Well, Season 1, excuse me, this is currently Season 2. So, they go there, and they're there with Maki's brother. Despite the fact the guy has a broken arm, he still wants to go because he basically has some authority in the matter. And he doesn't like the lieutenant because he still thinks that he tricked his sister to join his company. No, he didn't. No, he did not. That is something that both him and his father assume. Yes. As far as I can tell, Maki's mother, doesn't really believe that at all. It's just basically the father and brother basically have a problem with her being part of the Fire Force because they think that he manipulated her or tricked her. I'm like, seriously, dude, why didn't you bother actually freaking act like? Why didn't you ask the lieutenant how in the world he managed to recruit this girl? He recruited her because he recommended her. Yes, but this is how the man is written, so I'm not blaming the anime for that. I blame the writer basically writing that way. So, they go in, they split the various teams. Now, in case you're curious though, does Shiro do much of anything this episode? Not really, no. A lot of the episode is focused on Juggernaut and Tamaki. Yep. There's a hilarious bit in the episode I'll get to in a minute. So, we have already split the teams. You have Arthur playing up his illusions of grandeur. Shiro does virtually almost nothing this whole episode. Like, he appears briefly at the beginning and that's it for him. Excuse me, doesn't appear for the rest of the episode. So, we see Licht in the episode, and he doesn't do much of anything until like one brief scene. Where he's with there was one company, it's Company 2, where like a group of their men are being killed, where they're just walking through the hallway, and look, here's a room full of Infernals! Like a good about 50 of them. I'm like, where the heck these people can come from in the manga? Never really explain this at all. Like, oh, let's just have them fire machine guns off. Yeah, this is the way the series is written. Like, where Company 2, with the exception of like 2 or 3 people, are written to be extremely weak at being fire soldiers, where they're completely overwhelmed by a group of 50 Infernos. At least the captain's not meant to be an idiot. Oh no, he's written to be pretty well in this episode, where he's able to take a couple of Infernos no problem at all. While most of his squad, with the exception of like his lieutenant and Juggernaut, are written to be not that well written. It's like, okay, let's have us where we show flashback to these various soldiers, like, hey, like telling that tell what they want to do after this mission, like, first guy tells his girlfriend, hey, let's get married after we get back to the mission. He gets killed. Another guy says he's going to be there for the baby. He gets killed. Another guy wants off the brand new sneakers he got. He gets killed. And, of course, one of the pillars is there. It's one of the pillars. I think this is supposed to be not the 5th pillar. I think it might be the 6th. Well, I think it's actually one of the Guardians, who actually has the ability. She's a necromancer. Yep, revives the bodies of the dead fire soldiers from Company 2, and they turn against their comrades. Yep. And Licht sees that the guy with him basically, he easily gets killed, like so easily, like shot in the head, and then Licht's like, he just turns his head and he's like, really? Is this necessary? And he just runs away because he's not a fire soldier yet. He's part Company 8, but he's not technically a fire soldier, just a researcher who just along to do the science stuff. Which, yeah, that's perfectly reasonable for him to do. Meanwhile, though, basically we have this wonderful scene of Juggernaut Katsura, he's basically a guy who he has a lot of respect for. And of course, Tamaki is there. Tamaki slips, and the guy basically actually takes off her top that she's wearing. And look enough, Juggernaut basically uses his gigantic hand to cover her up. Yeah, he basically, like, in the manga, he's just showing his fingers, like, covering up her, like, his big fingers covering up her breast. In the anime, it looks like he's holding her with his hand, which, yeah, though, so a little more clothing this time. He's like, Lieutenant, how dare you? And then she puts the outfit back on. And then he shows off his special ability. He can see through stuff. Also, apparently, he's got a lapse in memory. Reaction to Juggernaut, oh yeah, you moved to the left. He's like, oh no, like, no I don't, I moved to the right. Yep. Because apparently Juggernaut wears a whole bunch of clothing. Why? Because he's so freaking nervous. And who knew him put on that much clothing to make him a gigantic guy? Oh my gosh. And then like, okay, you see the people, other companies, like, sure. And he walks up, looks like to be about 10 feet. And he's like, wait, let me check this out. Peeks in the corner, and then gets his head chopped off. Okay. Yeah, by a woman from the white-clad soldiers, who's got a whip known as a Medusa whip. Yes, a Medusa whip. Because when I think of Medusa, I think of a whip that basically is on fire. That apparently sheds stuff. Medusa was not known for this in Greek mythology. She was known for turning people to stone with her eyes. And her snake-like hair. And often described to be butt ugly, despite the fact that that's actually not true at all. A lot of the time when outside of normal Greek mythology depicts Medusa, Medusa is a beautiful woman. It just basically, she writes it off. Like, she was at one point, there was a comic book actually mentioned, Ron Kale mentioned when she met Medusa, that, oh, I thought you were ugly. And it's like, oh, that was something that Athena did. Yes, Athena, the goddess of wisdom, wrote that she was ugly. Despite the fact Medusa is a smoking hot woman. And this woman's beautiful too. Yep. And Juggernaut basically is like she's like slicing through him. And he kept popping his hands back out. Like, apparently he's wearing like a ton of clothes. And he's like firing his machine guns off. And he fires like a bunch of rockets at her. Eventually he's like down to like using his bare arm. And forms like a big rocket, like big bomb. And just splats around on her. Oh yeah, this is before he first was knocked out, and then Tamaki tries to use her will against him. Though apparently, thanks to her good luck, apparently her skin is basically, and of course she's whipping him like, what is up with your body? It's like hitting a rubber ball, but her clothing still gets shed. There's a tiny moment they add here where it looks like though her whip basically is like a lightsaber. Looks like it's almost like it's gonna shred her top, like it's almost pressing her top into her body. And then she's like calling for Shira, and then Juggernaut comes in basically to save her. And he eliminates her like a freaking badass, just piles a bomb on her, supposedly killing this particular white class soldier. And that's where the episode ends. I gotta hand to this episode, it's actually pretty good. I mean, yeah, it does some dumb moments, but that's how the manga depicts it. And at least I appreciate the fact the anime did not change very much. I mean, it's one thing people love at Fire Force, is its willingness to stay faithful to the manga. I mean, I've noticed this since episode 1. I would say the only arc, per se, they actually cut some corners with, out of all the arcs depicted in the whole entire anime, because most of the anime is pretty faithful to the source material, with the exception of the Asakusa arc. Yeah, so this one, they actually, like, if you reread the manga, what chapters they adapted for this one, it feels as though the anime cut corners with that one. But everything else, they pretty much kept pretty faithful to the source material. They also had some minor cuts with the Vulcan arc. But this arc, so far, this arc itself is only going to last for about 2 more episodes. Yeah, and that's it. It's a very quick arc. It's only about 4 episodes. That's something interesting when it comes to anime. A lot of the time, these arcs are really short. Like, so far, I'd say the longest arc in the whole anime, out of 44 episodes, is another one arc. This one takes up exactly 6 episodes. Yes, 6. No other arc, it takes up that much. like let's see the opening arcs. First arc, 4 episodes. Second arc, 2 episodes. The arc that comes right after that, third arc, that's 3 episodes. Preacher Pursuit, two episodes. That leads us Kusa arc, which is basically 5 episodes. Vulcan's Workshop, 5 episodes. This one, frickin' 6. Another one. Company 4, 3 episodes. Fifth Pillar, 4. Chinese Spinetta, 5. Versailles Sound Tempo, looks like 4. Hajime Industries, 4 as well. The previous arc, Iris arc, which in the manga was only just 4 chapters, 1 episode. And so far, this arc is roughly 2 out of 4 episodes in. Yeah, this arc is right in Japan. We got roughly 2 more episodes left of this arc, and that's it. Now, I'm not sure how far they go through for the next arc, because apparently, according to Over Online, apparently the season ends with the start of the adaptation of the Stigmata arc, which is one of the longer arcs. It's not very long per se. Joint Investigations, if you're curious, though, it's only 15 chapters, which for a while it's quite lengthy of an arc per se. But the arcs come after that are not very long. I'd say the only one comes close to that is Obi's Rescue, and that's only just 23 chapters. But yeah, not much else to say about the episode itself. But now on to the newest chapter of the manga. First up, 254, The Whereabouts of Hope. Yep, and of course there's a hand-drawn image of Joker on the cover of the chapter. Yep, that's the chapter cover for you, Joker. And starts off with Joker. And he's like, so this is despair. He sees all these tornadoes tearing up the ground. So, because the second cataclysm is starting. We see Hinaba, who's the company captain, Company 5 captain. She's here with I believe this is supposed to be, yeah, this is the company captain, Company 4. We see the angels, like, oh, I need your assistance. The world's ending. And all of a sudden, we see a doppelganger show up. And then we see Maki, Lisa, Vulcan, and the lieutenant. Of course, Tabaki's here as well. There's something to do all about despair. Yeah, it's all about despair being sadness. So we gotta basically stop by being the source of hope. Arrow says don't lose hope. Well, actually, it's like Commander Show, her one she protects. All about hope. Hope, hope, hope. Don't lose hope. So we can spread the word. Spread coverage. We need to do that. Okay. So. Oh, yeah, at one point that Vulcan is mistakenly referred to as Merlin. He's like, Merlin? Like, make Excalibur for me. Do Excalibur. Like, okay, to my side. We must venture the promised land of the 8th. What? Yeah, this will be the first time since before Obi's rescue they actually been to their home base. And then we cut to outer space, where Dragon's been... Yeah, he was up in space last chapter. And he's like, this must be outer space. I'm a long way from Earth. I don't feel like going back. Will I just drift away like this? Maybe float into the sky and become a star wouldn't be so bad. And then he passes by the frickin' moon. Yes, the moon, which the manga depicts it like like pretty much how it's depicted in Soul Eater. Because the guy who created this manga is also one of the co-creators of Soul Eater. And the chapter ends look like him coming back to Earth. And then we have chapter 55, The Seventh Pillar. It's another hand-drawn image of like this smiling cloud raining down on the cataclysm itself. That's literally what this cover image is. So everyone's like, let's see all the things crumbling, and then we see the company captain of Captain Hoda, the company captain of Company 2. And he sees that there's a giant eyeball in the sky. He's like, what was happening? Everyone sees that there's an eyeball in the sky. Yes. And if you're curious of reading this point, like, wait, where the heck is Shira, the main character of the series? Him along with the other pillars were taken to the Asamasuru, which has been activated. They actually activated just a couple chapters back. So they get basically to breathe about spreading hope. Hope, hope, hope. And then we see Sister Susumori. This becomes really weird. Like, apparently she's hanging upside down in the Altamasa. And then we have a... And then the manga chapter becomes really weird. Like, we depict a real-life person. I'm like, what the heck is this? Yes, this is seriously what the chapter does. We cut to apparently that where Susumori, the sister who raised Iris and Hineba, we see like a real-life thing of her. Like 250 years. And she walks through a hallway, sits down chatting some stuff, and talk about despair, dancing about, looking at her phone. I'm like, what the heck is this? I think this might be the creator of the manga. I'm not really sure. Like, why the heck would the creator of the manga make appearance in her own manga? I've never seen, like, when I was reading this, I'm like, what the heck is this? Like, why in the world would this real-life person make an appearance in a manga? It's almost like this has become a picture book. A picture book. A photo comic. Yes, it's almost like a photo comic. Where we have like a real life person just chatting about the cataclysm. Excuse me. I'm like, what the heck? This is so weird. Well, apparently, Susumori is from the past. Somehow, it's not thoroughly explained. By the look of this period, now, Susumori in the manga is, by appearance-wise, look like to be a woman presumably in her 50s. I'd say. And then we see a woman here, looks like she's presumably in her 40s? It's just so weird seeing this. And I'm kind of like, what is the purpose of these last few pages? Why the heck would they make this a freaking photo comic? Or at least in the case of this, a photo manga. This was completely unnecessary. I'm like, what the heck is this? I keep saying that, but yes. What a very odd ending to the manga to do this. I mean, last chapter was pretty good. Had a good ending to it. I'm giving that one 9.5. This chapter, like, it's good until you get to the last 5 pages. But I'm going to give this chapter roughly 8.5 out of 10. We'll give it 9.5 because it's a good chapter. I took a point off mainly because of the ending. I hope to God we don't start off next chapter like this. I really hope not. Yeah, that'd be kind of dumb. Yep, so that's it for this particular review. Stay tuned for the next couple of reviews. Next one will be a review for Case Closed. And possibly there'll be a new chapter for the manga for that one. And then last but not least for today, as far as I can tell right now, will be a review newest episode of the Quintessential Quintuplets. Now, for some reason, Yoshima Half-Name Princess did not release a new dub episode yesterday. I'm like, that's kind of weird. Yeah, I checked the website, and I checked the app on my phone, and I mostly check on my PS4. Nope, was never released. Excuse me. Yes, for some reason, episode 14 was not released yesterday. I don't know why, but it wasn't. And apparently, even though, yes, episode 14 was supposed to be released yesterday, but didn't, in Japan, they're not up to episode 20. And we're not up that far yet. And that's a critical episode. Why in the world would you delay that episode? Yes, maybe it wasn't ready yet. It's possible. That or they may want to take a week off for the dub. This is the only time I've seen this happen. Was actually the start of this year. Was actually just last month. Where the anime took a week off because of New Year's. But in the case next week, it could be anything. It could be Golden Week for all I know. Yeah, well, this past week. Well, I'm not sure what it could have been in Japan. But I don't know what the reason was why episode 14's dub. Now, I'm sure in Japan, basically, this aired no problem. But here, as far as I can tell, there's no real reason why. Maybe because the Viz Media didn't have it ready yet. Because they're the ones who does the dub for this one, not Funimation. Yes, This is technically the Yoshima Heavenly Princess. That's a Viz Media dub. Yes, Viz Media and Funimation do have a partnership, but Viz Media does the dub and Funimation streams it. My personal guess is what happened was the dub wasn't finished yet. Yes, they probably either one, they wanted to take a week off, even though they just had one the previous month, or two, the episode wasn't ready yet. Yeah, the dub wasn't finished yet for the episode. That, or they probably want to do a double feature for next week to end the month. It's possible. We'll find out next week. Okay, so until this next video, which will be Case Closed. Bye.